Okay, maybe just a minute and then we can go ahead and start our event today. Okay, so I think we have everyone we need to begin this show. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm Naushin Chaudhary, the Vice President of GCI Toronto. And it's a pleasure having you all of you with us here today. I will start with the land acknowledgement of Toronto, where I am right now. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississauga of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. JCI Toronto and JCI Ottawa in joint partnership have the pleasure to celebrate International Women's Day with its members across Canada and partners from public and the private sectors. The theme for this year's International Women's Day is DigitALL, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. The Government of Canada's theme for International Women's Day 2023 is Every Woman Counts. It's a reminder that all women from all ages and walks of life have a place in every aspect of Canadian society, including in the economic, social, and democratic spheres. We have three amazing panelists among us today. First, we have Bettina Belizere, the Gatineau City Councilor Member District 4, a leader in the public office who I had the pleasure to meet a few days ago. Welcome, Councilor Bettina. We also have Evelyn Ginden, Associate Director, Oxford HR North America, and Sessional Lecturer at University of Toronto. We will hear from Evelyn all about her journey in international development as a female leader and how she carried it into her academic career with young people at the Monk School, UFT, who also happened to be my mentor during my last year at UFT, if I had to mention. Finally, we have among us Vanessa Baccaria, founder and CEO, the Math Guru, also known as the Lady Gaga of math education. Welcome, Vanessa. I watched a lot of your interviews on TV. Can't wait to have you here today and hear more from you. So I'll go into a brief background of what we do at JCI. Junior Chamber International is a group of young active citizens all over the world who are aged between 18 to 40. And it was founded first in St. Louis, Missouri in 1915. JCI Canada happens to be 87 years old currently and has 4 regions in Canada. And from 1984, when JCI Montreal hosted the JCI World Congress, the Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau addressed the Congress. So JCI also participated in drafting the Declaration of the Rights of the Child, a list of 54 articles created by UN General Assembly. Through our webinar today, we expect to bring into discussion some of the important topics around the gender equality, diversity, and access of women across these sectors. We also look forward to hearing experiences and discuss ways forward in how women and girls can be champions across education, innovation, technology, human rights, and broader sectors. So without further ado, I would now like to welcome our National President, Mehdi Badadi, to share his welcome remarks. President, you're on mute.
OK, sorry. OK, donc merci beaucoup pour votre invitation. Donc, c'est avec grand plaisir d'être parmi vous et je vous remercie de votre belle initiative et surtout d'être avec des invités de gros calibre. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a big pleasure to be among you. And I thank you also for your beautiful initiative and also to be with the guest for great prestige. It's an amazing activity. Thank you, JCI Ottawa. Thank you, JCI Toronto. So, and also I want to thank our guests. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, President Mehdi, for your participation in our today's event. I also have the pleasure of saying we also have Senator Deondra Wishart among us today. I will just check if she has joined the call already. Yes, she is here. So thank you so much, President Mehdi, once again. And I would like to acknowledge that the 2023 JCI International Vice President, Senator Deondra Wishart, is among us. I would like to request Senator Deondra to share a few thoughts with us. And thank you once again for joining our event today.
Hi, everyone. Please, I extend apologies. I'm driving home from work now, so I can't turn on my camera, but I just wanted to be here with JCI Canada members on this auspicious event. And I wish you all the best. It is a great time when we pause to recognize the importance of women in our society and also empower us, because I am a woman leader, so that we can continue to build this noble organization and by extension, our world. I hope it is a great event and I wish you guys all the success, and please invite me to more of your events.
We will definitely do so. Thank you so much, Senator Deondra. And we will now move to the most anticipated part of the event, the panel. The panel today will be moderated by my colleague at JCI, Senator Yvette Yende Ashiri, 2021 past national president, JCI Canada, also previously city councillor candidate and a women's rights advocate. Senator Yvette, over to you.
Thank you so much, Noshane, and welcome everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Bienvenue. It is really a pleasure to have you today, and I would like to let you know that feel free, we are bilingual, feel free to speak in the language of your choice. We will adapt, on va s'adapter. Si vous avez des questions en français, soyez à l'aise de les poser en français également. Alors, so this is very exciting, and because I have here 3 amazing women, and each of you have a specific background and experiences. And today we would like to hear from your experience. We would like to hear also from your work. I have a dog and he's just barking now. I am sorry. Someone ring the bell. So that's what happened when we're home. Anyway, so first of all, I would like to leave the floor to each one of you to introduce yourself and to tell us a little bit more who you are and what you do. And then we will move on to some specific questions. So I will start with Councillor Bettina Belizer.
Merci Yvette, merci de me donner cette plateforme, merci de l'invitation, je suis vraiment contente d'être ici. Est-ce que tout le monde parle français ou est-ce que c'est mieux que je parle en anglais?
Je pense que peut-être en anglais, puis je pense qu'on est majoritairement...
The baseball method, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Bettina. I'm a city councillor in Gatineau for the district of Plateau, the most beautiful district of Gatineau. So I'm also the director of a network for immigrant women. So since 2008, I've been involved in the movement or the cause of women, because I think there's so much work to do. And the past year has showed us that the mobilization has to be stronger than ever, because anything could happen and we could take a big step back. So I think at all levels, individual levels, as the organization, the Network of Immigrant Women, or in my position as a counselor, there is so much work to do, and there's always an angle that you can address to bring our cause forth. So I have a lot of hats, as you can see, but the most beautiful or the most precious hat I have, you may have guessed, I'm a mom. I'm a teenager's mom. So And this has definitely, everybody thinks that being a single mom is a handicap, but for me, it was the most, it gave me a lot of motivation to keep on going and to make of him not only a feminist, but a humanist. So I'm gonna stop there. Thanks again for having me. I can't wait to hear from Evelyn and Vanessa.
Thank you so much, Councillor Bettina, for sharing a bit about who you are and what you do. And definitely hear you when you talk about the stereotype that comes with being a single mom, and how it had empowered you and how you continue to advance, and showing that you can be a single mom and advance in life. So we will discuss a bit more about that later on. At this time, we would like to hear from Evelyne Gandon. Evelyne, welcome.
Merci tellement de m'avoir invité. I'm so grateful to be here with you, and can't wait to learn more about everybody that is on this call, and especially the esteemed panel among me. So I'm just so thrilled. So most importantly, my name is Evelyne, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I am in Ottawa, which is where I live, which is the traditional ancestral unceded territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin peoples. I have been working in the social justice space for most of my life, and I have worked primarily globally and increasingly locally on poverty and injustice issues. I've worked in large organizations, international development organizations, and I've worked for small innovative organizations. And I guess what I'm most interested in talking about and hearing about today, but you know, I was reflecting as we were coming into this conversation, and I kept thinking of this glass ceiling. For years we've been talking about what it takes to break the glass ceilings, what it's taken to create a space where women can be heard. And the reflection I had was that it's really painful. Breaking a glass ceiling has been painful. It's been painful for me, but most importantly, it has been painful for so many women. It has been painful, I think, for every gender. And I think we need to change the way we speak about it, but most importantly, we need to transcend. And I'm hoping at this stage of my life where I'm working at elevating youth, elevating voices, this is what really, really excites me. This is why this amazing panel is so interesting, to be able to hear and amplify many voices. But most importantly, I think I'm excited about talking about how we create an environment that doesn't have barriers, where it is easy for everyone to engage and for all voices to be heard safely and well and loud. So that's a little bit about me.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Evelyn. I already see questions as we have just started, but I already see questions on the chat, and you are touching on the points that we are going to discuss today. How do we break the ceiling, and how can we advance in a world that is, how can women pave their way in this society that is still highly patriarchal? So, thank you, Evelyn. We will move on to Vanessa. Vanessa, welcome. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi. You do not want to hear me speak French, so I'm not even going to attempt. I'm definitely that person that tries to speak French in Montreal, and they're just like, let's just do this in English. So hello, my name is Vanessa. I'm known as the Math Guru. It's really nice to be here and to meet you all. My quick story is that I failed grade 11 math twice. I was always told I wasn't a math person. I just really wanted to be a rock star and marry Keanu Reeves, and those are still my dreams to this day. And as I was failing math, I was always told that people like me weren't good at math. So a lot of stuff happened in my life, but I ended up having an amazing teacher in grade 12 who taught me there was no such thing as a math person. I got a 98 in grade 12 math. And most importantly, it wasn't about the math. It was about the fact that, you know, so many young girls, so many people, but especially young girls, especially women of color, get told at a young age that they can't do math, and it sets up a lifetime of limiting beliefs for them, where math is the first thing they're born incapable of doing. And then from then it just builds, right? They start thinking there are other things in the world they can't do, and it squashes their dreams. So once I discovered that I was just as capable of math as anyone else, I made it my mission to change those stereotypes. So I have a master's degree. My thesis was called Imagining a World Where Paris Hilton Loves Math. And I study, my main focus is on media representations, specifically of women, and how we are told, I'm really obsessed with Hollywood. I've always been obsessed with media culture, how we're told consistently from the media that we don't belong. So that kind of started out as my area of expertise. Now I own at that time I started a tutoring center in Toronto called The Math Guru. Our whole goal is to break stereotypes around what it means to be a math person. So we have lots of diversity in our team. We have magicians that work there, athletes, musicians, scientists, educators. We just want to show kids that there's no one way to be a math person. So that's kind of what I do. I'm a huge advocate. I speak a lot. I do a lot of professional development for teachers on how to sort of watch out, how to create more inclusive classrooms, how to make sure they're not repeating their traumas and biases and putting them on their students. And yeah, I really think, as I just said in the chat, that we have to stop talking about encouraging girls to do this and that, because the problem is not with girls. The problem is with the culture that makes it impossible for girls and women to feel like they belong.
Wow. I can relate, Vanessa. When we're talking about math, I was that teenager as well who didn't like math because of the way, you know, we were told that math is not for girls. And I only had one teacher when my grade went up. It was because that teacher, he treated me differently. He saw in me all the potentials, and also he pushed me into, you know, liking math. So definitely there is an issue of conception and the way we see women, young girls. So thank you so much for sharing it. And at this time, because we have been talking already, we are already in the topic. So as we know, the theme of this International Women's Day is Every Woman Count. So I will ask, and feel free if you want to be the first person to answer, but it's open discussion now. So how can we as women take our place in this society that is still limiting us in many ways? How can we take our place? Can go ahead, Bettina.
Je vais me lancer. It's a very good question. It's a very good question, because I find that we were not all brought up the same way. Meaning, listen, I had parents that never showed me that being a woman was a handicap, but most of us, we live in a society, a lot of us, a lot of women, we are in a society where we are taught our place. And I'm talking about different cultures, different cultures, different countries, where we're taught differently, basically. So for some of us, it may be like, listen, no one will give you a space. I grew up literally my mom saying, no one will give you a place. You just have to grab a seat and sit at the table. You have something to say. You always have something to say. Whereas when with my work with the network of immigrant women, I find that a lot of us, we have it in us. We have something to say. We have a little voice. But we just need that push. And that push, it's all of us who need to come together. We basically need to come together and support each other. Basically, And I think what's important is to support every initiative. What I'm saying is, I heard Vanessa talk about her limiting beliefs around math. And I know a lot of women, we have it around finances, where some of them, they come to the center and they're like, no, my husband takes care of this. And I'm like, I don't mind. You deal with the way you want things to happen in your household. But it's important for you to have the knowledge. It's important for you to understand what he's doing, just for your own knowledge, you know, little things like that. And sometimes different women will need different approach, like I said, because some of us, the only thing that's gonna stop me from doing anything is me wanting it or not. But some women, they may need a bit more of a push, of a structure. And I think if all of us, we come together, we can give this gift to each other and support different initiatives.
Thank you, Bettina. Well said. Definitely, it is for us to take the seat. We have something to say. There's so much talent. There's so much knowledge as well that can be shared. And I always say that when we start as a woman, when we start doubting ourselves and not daring to do the things, that's when we are really preventing the world to see who we are and what we are able to do. So thank you for sharing that. I don't know if Evelyn or Vanessa, you want to go ahead straight.
I mean, I love this question as well, because I think we could talk just about this all throughout for much longer than this session will permit. But I think the first thing to always keep in mind, if we're going to do it a women's way, we have to have an intersectional lens. We've got to be thinking about race. We've got to be thinking about women with disabilities. We've got to be thinking of all genders. We've got to do it differently. And I think once we get to where we need to go, that's the lens that we need to put on. But I'd say one thing that I would like to add is that, like, a lot of folks don't necessarily have the math skills. Not everybody has the cutting skills that an advocate needs. And that what it takes to be that great politician. But those skills can be learned. We too often are often the best expert in the room, but when asked for our expertise, we'll say, oh, I know an expert on this, and might think of a man because they're maybe more confident to speak, right? Like, this happens. And the reality is that we need to help ourselves, get those skills, get those advocacy skills. There are organizations, I sit on the board of an organization called Informed Opinions that helps women do that. But absolutely, finding that voice within us all is our responsibility, no matter how awkward, no matter how weird we feel it sounds. We have to push ourselves, and most importantly, we need to elevate others and elevate other women to either run for office, speak for themselves, about themselves. And that is something that I often reflect on, is that ability to find one's voice and to develop the skills to advocate for ourselves.
Definitely, Evelyn, I hear you on that one as well. We have to elevate women and also to speak for ourselves, because nobody else is going to do it. So Vanessa?
I think you both basically said everything that needs to be said, but the only thing I wanted to add, just Evelyn, just listening to you, I was thinking, it sounds so good to it sounds so good to just be able to dig deep and find our voices. But I also, just for sometimes it's so hard, and sometimes you can't, sometimes you don't know where to start. And some of us have grown up in more supportive environments where we have people always lifting us up and hyping us up, and some people really haven't, right? Like, not a single person has believed in them. So I think what you both said is the only thing I want to say, which is that, like, knowledge is power, and to know that, as Marie Forleo said, I think everything is figure outable. There's always a way to learn those skills. So just a lot of growth mindset vibes coming from me, of being like, we can change for wherever everyone's watching right now, however we feel about ourselves, or however strong we feel. By the end of this hour, I had a brain scientist say this to me last week, and I was like, what? She was like, our brain is always changing. And at the end of our conversation, at the end of this hour, your brain will be different than when we started. And I was like, is that true? And she was like, yes, that's actually true. So our brains are always changing. And at the end of this hour, from all the stuff we even talk about and all the input and the questions we're answering, we're all going to be like this much different, which hopefully is this, like, if you're feeling a little fired up after this whole talk, that's kind of a sign of what's to come, and just proof that like we can gain those skills, and talking more and listening more and like talking to experts can get us to where we want to go.
Absolutely. I see a lot of comments and reactions in the chat here, and we will come back to the questions. So continue just to share them as we go. So we have talked about believing in ourselves, elevating other women, taking that sit, because no one else is going to give you the sit. We have to do it. So while getting ready, Evelyn, you shared that you decided to stop working where you have worked for so many years because you couldn't take it anymore. Can you share a bit about when was that moment that you realized that I need to be out of here?
Yeah, well, it's you know, for me, I had spent my career at the forefront of international development and humanitarian work, which I believe to be incredibly noble work. But it is a sector that has been plagued with, first and foremost, colonialism, patriarchy. So it's not just because you go into a mission-centered job that you're going to find you know, a caring place and a caring environment to work. They are also, you know, again, in part, you know, speaking, reflecting on Vanessa's points around the growth mindset. You know, this is an area where if you don't have a growth mindset, you shouldn't be in, but it is also an area that is also plagued by the way that the donor community works, and the way the whole ecosystem works makes it very, very difficult to have that growth mindset. And a multitude of events, of awakenings, for me, made it such that I felt not only, it wasn't a sadness of leaving, it was the fact that I felt that I could be reaching my own purpose and playing a much greater part in what mattered to me by stepping aside and finding a new way of using my strength. And that has been through search, through trying to work at elevating others, elevating a new generation of leaders in this space, elevating Black voices, elevating voices of people with lived experience, not only in leadership roles, but through a whole wide range of other means. And for me, that has meant not only, you know, a new line of work, but also the wonderful opportunity I've had in lecturing. And in being able to do that, I'm not only able to work with a new generation of leaders in the development space, but also continue that learning and be able to pass that on in different ways. Most importantly for me, what it's meant is finding my space as somebody who wants to continue learning and elevating others through different means. And it's actually a much more comfortable place. It's a happier place. When I get up in the morning, I feel that I am, you know, I'm just as happy connecting others than I am in other roles. And most importantly, the work in, you know, we're dealing with way more crises, be they global health crises and pandemics and humanitarian crises. And most importantly, I think it's seeing the power that communities have to find solutions, but also to address the challenges. And the more we can do to support by not only elevating, but also talking about financing and money and who gets the money and how the money flows to those people who need it most. I find that really important and an important part of my career as somebody who's done a lot of fundraising.
Thank you, Evelyn. And speaking about challenges, this is a question I would like to address to Vanessa. What are the challenges that you you have a counter, and how did you address them along your way?
Challenges I've encountered, like today or like in general? Like in general?
When you started
Yeah.
your organization, and yes.
I think for me, I don't know if this is just because it's top of mind and it's something I focus on a lot, or if this is very real. It's probably a bit of both. I think for me, it's always stereotypes. Like, so, you know, I have my master's in education. I have owned this company for 12 years. I do a lot of work. I have a lot of credentials. I am definitely an expert in my field, but I've always been seen as someone who doesn't fit the mold of what a math person, I'm going to use quotes, is supposed to look like. So I think for me, one of the biggest challenges is, as it is for most women, is really being judged for my exterior. So I mean, I was at a conference, a STEM conference a few years ago, where I did a full talk on a full panel, and afterwards somebody left a review saying they couldn't take someone with purple hair wearing a sequin shirt seriously. So that kind of stuff. And I think for me, it's like I've always refused to you know, placate anyone by conforming. Yeah, thank you. Exactly. And so that's been definitely one of those things which has helped me a lot, because that's the exact kind of thing I'm fighting. But it's definitely something that is a constant obstacle for me. So that's probably the biggest one. Like I think it just kind of goes to show that those stereotypes are still alive and well. And when I look at media, which is one of my main areas of focus, I don't see them really changing very much. And I think it just shows how much work we have to do. If people still are like, wait, you don't look like a math person, if that's the comment I get every time, it's like, wow, Matt Damon from Good Will Hunting, that was a long time ago. We don't all look like that, you know?
Absolutely. Stereotypes. Just yesterday,
Yeah.
I was reading, there was a letter that was sent to a board member from the health committee, and that letter was saying that she shouldn't be sitting on that board of directors because of the way she looks. And they clearly said that we think you have 20 pounds overweight and you cannot be sitting in this health board. So, and she went on, well, this is the reason why I'm here, because we need to address those stereotypes, and my place is right here. So stereotypes are definitely still destroying the who we are and our ability to be the leaders that we can be. That's super not PC for 23. Yes, that definitely. There are many, I see a lot of chat. We're coming back to you. Bettina, would you like to answer that question as well, please? What are the challenges that you've
I love that question. Okay, I'll just talk about 4 things that I felt were hard for me to overcome, I would say. So I was telling you earlier that my parents were like, they were bigging us up, me and my 2 sisters, of how we can do everything. But I was 20 something when I realized that my parents were not preparing me for the real world, because as they were telling me that I could do whatever I wanted, there was a world out there telling me, oh, you're a girl, you're young, you want to do this? Oh, you're Black. Oh, you're an immigrant. Do you know how to use a phone? You know, and it was like, it was discouraging, because I was like, why? So I realized, it was a beautiful realization in my early 20s to know that, yes, I can do whatever I want, but I need women like all of you around the screen, I guess. I need a team. I need to be like, I need to convince people to partake in my ideals and to work with me towards them. I can do whatever I want, but it takes a village, like they say. So it was good for me to realize that I'm not alone in the way in this life, and in those stereotypes that I'm a victim. And I don't like the word victim, but for lack of a better word, I'll say that I'm a victim of. The other thing was my own fears. someone mentioned, I think it was Evelyn, who said, you know, sometimes we want to do things, but a man, oh my God, the audacity. And, and, you know, I'm like, I need to study more. I need to do more. And I'm giving myself a lot of reasons of, and it's not, I'm not the only one. A lot of women are like that. We just need more. We think we need more preparation where really we are enough. But and right now, sometimes when I say, oh, I don't want to do this, I always take a step back and ask myself, I don't want to do it because I don't want to, or because I'm afraid. So I have to always remind myself, ask myself the question, why is it that I don't want to move forward with, or am I making excuses not to move forward with my projects? And yeah, and I remember in my early years when I first started working, 19, 20, it was all about the immigrant girl in my first job. And I felt like they were putting me in a box. I didn't, honestly, guys, I didn't need to work much because they didn't have much expectations of me. And then I was like, oh, that's cool. I got great evaluations and I don't have to do much. But then I realized, am I working for them or am I working for me? Am I working for my purposes? So I'm like, I cannot afford to put myself in the box. That box could be in gold, but it's not for me for as long as it doesn't serve the community, for as long as it doesn't serve the purpose that that I'm working on. Or so those were my challenges, let's say. And even as a counselor, I always thought that I had to have a family and a dog in the house. like Vanessa was saying, I had to conform to the ideal of a politician. But then I realized a lot of single moms go into politics and they're amazing at it. So that's it.
They are amazing, just like yourself.
Oh.
Talking about politics, this is a topic that we cannot avoid here. Myself being in municipal politics as candidate 2 times. And I would like, I firmly believe that changes starts when we start being at the table and also raising our voices to the issues that regard us. So I know that Evelyn, you mentioned working for informed opinions, and we also discussed about the lack of resources that women have when it comes to entering in politics, the support that comes with it. My question to you is, what kind of support could stakeholders provide? What kind of support can we provide to any woman who desire to run into politics? We have today a city councillor, and what type of support can stakeholders provide?
Sure. So when we spoke, Yvette, I talked to you about the work that I'm doing. I sit on the board of Informed Opinions, which is a phenomenal Canadian organization that is working to elevate women's voices, but it's also these days also very concerned about the balance of power. In Canada, the statistics are that in the year 2000, we were the 27th in the world for women's representation in different forms of government, and particularly in Parliament. Now, in 2023, drum roll, we are now 67th in Canada. So not only have we slipped, we're slipping badly. And that's in part because other countries have figured out that if you place women in politics, you actually get better policy, you get a whole bunch of advantages. But we haven't quite figured that out yet. So there's a lot of work that we need to do. And yes, the financing piece is really important. Championing women as candidates is very, very important. But I think we also have to recognize that the patriarchy, whatever it is, it's a minefield out there for women in so many different spaces, in so many aspects, whether, you know, for women who get to the table, we all know from seeing amazing women being elected federally in the last couple of years and leaving politics, because even though they get to the table and there's 50%, it's still a challenge to sit at that table, because that table was not set for us. So we have to change the way that dynamic happens at that table. So those are the obvious, but we also have to think of what we now look and almost, you know, we ignore at our peril, and that is what's happening on social media. For any woman, any woman of color, especially any person of color, people of different genders who run for office, it's horrible. And we're talking, you know, I think the statistic is something like 35% more women of color and trans women, even worse, get attacked online. The online hate is awful, and we can't just put it aside as being something that just happens online. It hurts, it impedes women. Women are not running because of it, or are stepping out because of it. So with that, I think one of the things I'd love to see us do is to pay attention to it, to ask our governments and those people who run these platforms to do something about it, and to find different ways of supporting women and protecting them from online hate. Just a few.
Agree more. I have some experience here, but Vanessa, would you like to answer the question as well?
I am happy to say something about online hate, but I think I'm probably don't have anything to really say about this topic. So we should leave it to the two who do know, because I don't want to just talk for the sake of talking. So you guys take it away.
Bettina?
Okay, one of the reasons why I got into politics was because I wanted to walk the talk, because women were coming to the center and I was like, oh my God, you're so good, you have to, you know, and I'm like, okay, but maybe if I go through the process, I can better help them. But I have to say, one of the things that worried me the most, because as I was in the process of, you know, thinking this through and, you know, putting my face on a poster, there was so much happening in Montreal with the head. It was the first time we had a Black woman head of a political party in Quebec, and the comments online were not nice. And I couldn't bear the thought that my son would have to live through this. My parents would see this, because I know it would hurt them to see it as much as it would to myself. But I agree, Evelyn, when you said that we have to be around the table, because politics, especially in at the municipal level where I am, it is known to be for old men, and if I may say, old white man. And so every procedure, every policy was made for someone who doesn't have kids and can just show up, leave whenever they want to. And to this day, I have some of my colleagues who have to leave earlier because they have to go get their kids in school, or, you know, they have to accommodate the balance between, you know, the work-life balance. So what can we do about that? Sometimes it's just changing the hours that we operate. Sometimes it could be little things that we do, but we have to go through it. One of my colleagues, she just had a baby. Actually, 1 year ago, she had a baby, and she would bring the baby to the council to say, and for me, it was such a great message we were sending. You need to be around that table, and we're gonna take whatever it takes. And babies, everybody was saying babies are welcome around the table. Hell yeah, they are. you know, and how about we find other ways to make it more welcoming for young women to be part of politics. And I'm saying young women, I will say young parents, because I want men to take their place too and I know a lot of them already do it, but I just have to say it. I think it's important to have more men take their responsibility or become daddies, you know, like, and we as feminists, well, me, I'm gonna talk for myself as a feminist. I have to give them that space to you know, to change things with us. That's what I'm gonna say.
Absolutely, changing the ways things have been doing, and also taking responsibility. And to that, I would like, I see innovation, being innovative. We cannot always redo the same things that we have been doing in the past and that hasn't been working. So Vanessa, where do you see women and girls taking innovation and technology in the next 10 years? And what kind of support could stakeholders provide on achieving this?
Bettina, did you want to say something? I saw your hand up. Did you want to add something in?
Or I was gonna add another point about representation. Do you allow me?
Yeah, go, for sure.
I know I was gonna say representation matters as well. And Yvette probably heard that story before, but I have that story about the campaign, how I went to this lady's house and I was talking to her daughter, and then she was asking me, she was not of age to vote for me, but I love talking to the youth because I have so much hope in the next generation. And I was talking to her and it was, you know, at the end of the conversation, I left their house, but what I find is a few weeks later, the mom sent me a message on Facebook Messenger, and she told me that after I came to their house, her daughter, she decided to go to election to become the head of her class. And for me, that was amazing. That was powerful because just putting my face on that poster made that change for that one person. And I hope others that I probably don't know of, but representation matters. And it's one of the steps to open doors for other women in the field. That's what I wanted to add.
Thank you for sharing, Bettina. Representation matters, and it matters strong. It matters very strong. I have, if I can share as well, when I ran for the first time, just the day we took out, you know, the posters I had. So there was my phone number was on the poster, and the first call that I received was from a friend of my daughter. So it was the first call that I received, and he just called and he tried in his best French because he's an Anglophone. He just said, "Madame Yvette, I see you." And to me, it meant so much. I said, "Oh my God." So this is the first outing, and he took the time to call and say, "I see you." So he could also see himself in me. And I think that's very important and so powerful. So we are almost to 6, and I know there are many questions, and I will leave the floor to Vanessa for the question about innovation and technology in the next 10 years. Where do you see women and girls taking innovation and technology in the next 10 years?
Well, I think this is such a perfect question to ask now, because both Evelyn and Bettina have kind of mentioned things that all come into my answer, which is, you know, Evelyn was saying that we've seen time and time again that when women are allowed a seat at the table and when we have diversity at the table, it improves our policy, it improves everything. And the same is true in STEM. We see that all the time, right? So I think before it became cool to talk about women in STEM, and everyone thought we were just doing this because we wanted equality, and I'm using that in the most eye roll way. industry actually started getting interested because they were like, wait a second, actually, this makes us more competitive. This actually increases our bottom line. Like you could start seeing people with a vested interest and the stakeholders actually getting really interested from more just an equity lens. So I think I kind of want to tie this into a question I see in the thread. So someone has said, though we see almost close to 50% female participation in the workforce, the number is below 25% when we only consider STEM. Why? So in the next 10 years, what do I see? I think what I see is that number 100% increasing, because I think we're at the point now where we realize that we are simply more competitive if we allow diverse people into the STEM fields. But I really want to add that, like, I think to date, most of our efforts continue. This goes back to what I said at the beginning of this. Most of our efforts continue, I think, to place the onus on the women, saying like, you need confidence, like you need to be interested here. And it's kind of like, enough. Like, you know, like, great, we are capable. People keep telling us that. That's really, really nice. But as a woman, you know, I work with teenagers all the time, right? Like, I'm sorry, but what 18-year-old is going to be like, that's great that I have all the skills, like sign me up for a workforce where I'm going to face discrimination every day and I'm going to have to smash the glass ceiling. Like, that doesn't sound fun. Who wants to? I don't want to do that. I'm tired, right? So like, I think at this point, hopefully we can see that what I'm hoping, because this is kind of a like, are you psychic question? What I'm hoping is right now, everyone's like, wow, we could be such a stronger company. We could have a better workforce. We could have better innovation with more women at the table. I, as a company, let's pretend that's me. I'm going to look around at other companies that are doing this well, and I'm going to start to emulate them. So we're creating workplaces where women want to work. And we're like, you know, again, like you two were both saying about politics, where they don't start in there and then within a year be like, this sucks. Like, no, thank you. So I think, I mean, I don't want to be overly optimistic because I'm really pessimistic most of the time. And I'm like, burn it all down, like nothing's working. But like, the truth is, like, we are seeing some organizations really starting to model this well. Like, I think there is some change, but it's one of those things where it's like, you see a few organizations doing it. However, to get all these women we're talking about into STEM, it has to start in like grade 3. So like that really great modeling happening at this office, it's like, how does that trickle down? So these kids from the very beginning are getting the idea they belong, and they actually go down the STEM pipeline into and end up in university classes where they also feel like they belong. And then this has now turned into a rant. But the point is, I think in the next 10 years, it's up to everyone else to do the work to finally welcome people in. That is my answer.
It makes complete sense. Definitely, we belong and we are enough. And I agree with what you're saying, that the fact of sometimes always, it's like okay, she's first at doing this. She was the first, and this is something that at the same time it's a way of, you know, recognizing that there's been a change, but at the same time, I find it that it has a double connotation, right? As if, you know, I don't know how to put the words, but we definitely need to make sure that women feel that they belong. And as we said, like women's rights are humans' rights. So recognizing that being a woman is being human and it's normal. Like there's nothing that is, you know, weird about that. So, and to that, I would like to ask you, what would you tell your younger self? What would you tell your younger self if you look back? Yes, you can go ahead, Vanessa, and then Bettina and Evelyn.
I think I would just be like, stop caring what other people think. I really cared what people thought when I was younger. Yeah, that would definitely be number one.
Thank you, Bettina.
Yes. I'm gonna talk before I give you the answer because I really want to add something to what you were saying. You know, we have to change the narrative, and changing the narrative, it starts with us, the way we speak about the movement, the way we speak about ourselves, and the way we speak to the next generation. For example, with my son, I remember telling him once when he was about 7, I said, "You're a big boy, why are you crying?" And it's like, oh my God, let him cry. Then you have those men who don't express their feelings, and I had to go back and apologize and be like, it's okay if you cry, but that's not gonna fix the problem. We have to still talk about it. So somehow in our daily lives, we can change the narrative. And I think each of us at our level, we can definitely bring forth, initiatives that can change things slowly. Unfortunately, as an agent of change, I realize that things go with momentum, and they're sometimes slow, but for sure, I know that we're moving forward. So what would I tell the younger Bettina? Man, I would say, girl, it will all be fine. Just keep moving. Action, action, action. That's what I would tell her.
Awesome. Evelyn?
Well, I guess staying with this theme for me, it would definitely be using my voice. Even if my voice at times is hard to find, it's hard to reach, it's awkward, use your voice. And your voice can be one that stands up yourself, or you can amplify others and make that space to amplify and include. Use your power in creative ways, because it's not always about yourself. It is very much about amplifying, passing the mic, making room for others. And that's a very, very powerful way to engage in society, whether supporting women through politics and supporting women through your own workplace. I keep thinking, like, the most logical thing, hire more women, but it's also making room for a new way of working and a new way of engaging that includes everybody, not just women, but is inclusive to all.
Absolutely, that is so powerful. It's not always about ourselves, just as you mentioned. And in JSCI, we believe that service to humanity is the best work of life. And we also believe so much that when we give, that's when we receive. So I couldn't agree more with what you are saying, Evelyn. And at this time, we are 6 p.m. and I would like to leave the floor a bit to questions, because I see there have been so many actions there. I couldn't follow up. So feel free, Noshin, if you would like, if you have a question, just to open your microphone and ask the question, and the panelists will answer.
Sorry, before we move to the Q&A, I have a special mention. I would like to acknowledge that 2023 Vice President Sue Solimossi is among us. Thank you so much, Sue, for joining us today. And we want to hear a few words with Sue, maybe before moving to the Q&A session.
Thank you. Welcome, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to share a few words. Special thank you to JCI Toronto and JCI Ottawa for putting on this workshop. I've been listening for the last, I had signed in a little bit late, but for the last hour, and I'm so inspired. I've been making notes about everything that I agree with and everything that inspires me. I'm a big supporter of financial literacy, especially in children. And so I was really happy to hear us talking about that. Growing up, math was my strong point. I'm a mortgage broker now. I'm in the financial industry. And so like Bettina, I grew up being told that I'm good enough, that I have the potential, that I have the knowledge. And so I always had that support. And I would agree that I think it's important to share and empower and encourage our children and the next generation. I'm excited by, Vanessa, what you mentioned about feeling like you belong. I wanted to mention JCI Canada's direction this year, leading by example. We as women can be an amazing example for the next generation. And I'm going to finish by just making a comment of my favorite piece of advice for anyone looking for advice is to keep going. Through all the challenges and turmoil and changes in life, keep going, because opportunities come every day. And you never know what's going to inspire you and take you to the next level, like being a vice president in JCI. So here we are. Thank you so much. And amazing. Thank you so much for this panel.
Thank you so much, IVP Sue. Thank you for being here, joining today, and sharing also your experience. Sue and I, we are good friends, and we had the opportunity to work together. And seeing her where she is now at one of the highest level in JCI is amazing. So keep on going. That's definitely the way to go. Keep on going and believing in yourself, and also sharing also when you have that power, that strength, and that confidence, it's also important to share it with other women. So merci beaucoup. We will continue with the Q&A. So the floor or the screen is yours, if I can say it like that. So you can raise your hand, and then we will leave you the floor, the screen, the microphone.
There was a question, I think it was for Bettina. I don't know, Bettina, if you answered it at one point. So it was about how can JCI support local organizations in Gatineau to access more funding in order to promote women's financial literacy. Sorry, it wasn't for Bettina. It was for, I don't know, Yvette, do you want to take it? Or
Sure.
you've been involved with us for quite a while, you would know.
Thank you. Yes. So feel free to answer if you would like to answer, Vanessa, Evelyn, or Bettina. Whoever wants to answer that question, just go ahead.
It was about JCI supporting the local organizations.
Oh, pardon me. Where?
Yes. Yes, I'll just copy paste the question again. So it was about how can JCI support local organizations in Gatineau to access more funding in order to promote women's financial literacy?
So JCI is a leadership organization. So we don't, I would say we don't deal with fundraising as per se, but we build, we help develop leaders. And so the way that we can do that in Gatineau, and I believe that collaboration is very important, is by being present among those organizations, sharing the knowledge, sharing the way we have a framework that we follow, the way we do our projects, the way we want to connect the different sectors of the community, of the society. This is the way that I see as JCI right now is in Ottawa, but definitely Gatineau is just is near where Councillor Bettina lives. So definitely there are many opportunities there to build. I don't know if it answers the question.
As a past president of JCI Ottawa, I would say as well, during my time, it was super easy to reach out to other organizations. I'm not sure about the funding part because it was never about funding. It was more about collaboration to reach for better outreach to the community and to have an impact. But I can say that it was always, people were always welcoming to, ils étaient toujours enthousiastes à l'idée de ce qu'on proposait comme projet. So making collaborations is something that is totally feasible. Not sure if it's in terms of how the finances would work, because some of them they would support our events or any program that we would have, but it was for us, the goal was for the outreach to have to further more collaboration and partnerships.
Thank you, Bettina. I see a hand, Mehdi.
Hi, everyone. It's great to see everyone coming up and talking about women empowerment. I myself consider myself a feminist. And I come from an engineering background, right? And that's where I see a lot of disparity, right? I already wrote the question. Like in workforce, when we see there are almost around 50% of the women take part, but when you consider STEM, right? And this question I think is more focused for Vanessa. When we consider STEM, we see roughly about 25% participation. Why is there such a disparity? And this is not like it's happening now. It's happening for a very long period of time, and the numbers are not improving much. So do you have any sort of like, you told me in 10 years in the technology segment, women are going to make a lot of change, but we haven't seen the beginning of that change to appear. And I think, are we missing somewhere something that needs to start?
Yes, thank you for your question. I think we are missing a lot of things. I think that, sorry, I just want to be clear. You started by saying that engineering, there's 50%. Can you just repeat what you said at the beginning with your numbers?
So it's like within workforce, we have roughly about 47 to 48% female participation. But when we focus only on STEM,
right,
the participation is about 25%. Why is there such a disparity, and what are we missing?
Okay, so I first of all absolutely do not believe that 47% of the engineering workforce is women. There's no way that's true. Number one. So I don't think that's true.
I meant the entire workforce. So when we consider the entire workforce,
oh my God. Okay, got it.
47%, 48% is women. But when we consider only a STEM, it's 25%. So yeah.
Perfect. So I think there's a few reasons. I think the first thing is when we think about getting women into STEM, it starts at a very young age, right? So we have to think about the entire pipeline, and we have to think about the fact that it's not just hiring women. Those women have to be interested and have taken those university programs. So do you have your hand up, Bettina? Oh, after, okay. So the first thing is, girls are taught as early as 6 years old. A lot of the research shows as early as 6 years old, they're already taught that math, for example, is not for them. So there are all sorts of things. You can think about gendered toys. You can think about the way that teacher biases play into the classroom, that parent biases play into raising kids. So they're already taught from a young age. As they get older, they're exposed to all sorts of media. So think again about media. Like, what media can you think of? Can you think of a single movie or TV show where a cheerleader is good at math? You probably can't think of a single one because there is no such character. Every cheerleader shown is unintelligent, and her nerdy friend needs to teach her math, and then the nerdy friend needs a makeover to get the guy. So again, when we think about raising teenagers, all the media they're exposed to teaches them that if they are a woman who would like to be interested in math or science, they need to shed their entire identity, their social life, their fashion sense, any interest in order to be good at math and science. So if you were a teenage girl, what would you pick? Many of them start opting out. They start thinking there's no characters I can see. I mean, Bettina talked about representation. Who am I looking at that's someone like me who likes the same things I do that is also good at math and science? There aren't a lot of examples. Fine, some girls make it through. They squeeze through, they get into university. They're now in university in a program. They're one of 2 girls in their engineering program. Like Bettina said again about the workforce, I think Evelyn said this too. The rules have been designed by men for men. So now they're finally in their engineering program. They've worked so hard to get to, and they're like, this is shit. Like, I'm being treated like garbage. No one cares about my point of view. Like, no one respects the fact that maybe I have a child, or maybe where there's still biases in hiring practices where people won't hire women of a certain age because like they might have a kid. Like, there's all sorts of stuff. Anyway, so now they're in their university program, and by year 2 or 3, they're like, what is this? I'm made to feel like garbage every single day and like I don't belong. But still, some of them squeak through. They graduate. They go into a job. They go into a STEM job, and the same rinse and repeat. The exact same thing is happening because in a lot of these fields, it is still designed for men, by men. So there aren't many practices in place that make women feel like they belong. They deal with harassment, they deal with microaggressions, like it goes on and on and on. So like, is there something we're missing? Yes, we're missing at every single point in the pipeline. We are telling women that they don't belong. Yet most of our initiatives focus on showing women that they can be good at STEM and that there are cool jobs in STEM that they would like. We're really missing the mark. Like we're over, like that part is over. We're missing the mark and we're focusing on women when actually we should be hosting all of these events for men, for allies, for white people. Like they need to be here listening to this stuff. I mean, this is obviously great and it's so great to talk about this, but like we know all this stuff. We're women, we're here. So it's like, I don't see any events actually targeted towards men in these industries to be like, hey, do you think you maybe need to hire a woman? Here's all the stuff you're missing. So that's what I think we're missing actually is men.
Thumbs up
Vanessa,
to that.
you're on fire.
You said
I'm
it all.
mad.
You said
I'm
it
really
all.
pissed off. Not at you. Not mad at you.
And we
Not
gotta
mad
be
at you.
pissed off. We need to be pissed off and say the things that are sometimes uncomfortable so that we can reach to that change that we need to see. And I'm so, we said powered up or fired up by what you've been sharing, Vanessa. So yes, yes, and yes. Bettina, I know you wanted to talk, and Evelyn, I see your hand as well. So you have the floor.
Thank you, Vanessa. You said it, girl. You said it. I think they asked me that question in one of the conference I had to attend, or where I was a panelist, where isn't it time that we engage men in the decision or the discussion? Because like you say, we're preaching to the choir, but sometimes we need to be reminded of the difficulties. We need to take the time to talk about it. And yes, I agree, some of them are just waiting to be told how to act and how to change the narrative for the next generation. So as for me, I don't work in STEM. Like obviously, I'm more in the social side of things. However, one of the things là où je te rejoins, Vanessa, where we connect, I guess, with
where we meet.
Where we meet. Okay. Sorry, I'm French. So where we meet is the change in policies. So ever since I've been elected, one of the things that I wanted the city to do is to be a leader when it comes to equity. Not only with regards to the law, but with regards to the programs and policies that we put in place. So that's why I really want them to use the GAB, gender-based analysis, or gender analysis-based, approach in analyzing all of our policies and programs. And I'm very happy after just 1 year, they decided to do a pilot project. And I'm very happy about that, because we live in a society, especially in politics, what you see is that the lobbyists that speak the loudest or that are the most, agile, the ones that are the best in their profession or have the best connection with the decision makers, that's where they can push their agendas. But when you have a gender-based, c'est comme analyse différenciée selon le sexe plus, not really sure how to say. I think it's gender-based analysis.
Gender-based analysis.
Okay,
Evelyn,
right.
yes.
Sorry, I know in French, c'est l'analyse différenciée selon le sexe plus. When you have that approach, you can actually think of every different sector. You can actually open your mind to different things rather than just focusing on what you know or the person who approached you. So I think that's something that's very important to me anyways. The other thing is we talk a lot about girls in STEM or girls in fields that are more designed for male, but I'm in the social work, and I can tell you the salaries have nothing to do with other job that would be comparable. So, and it's a field that is massively, without girls, women, we engage massively in the social side of work. So it's very important for me. And today I had to meet with the Minister of Immigration. That's what I was telling her. It's very important to make sure that those jobs, any community work kind of job, have to be paid, and they get same sort of they get the same advantages as other jobs, because those jobs they tend to put them aside. Oh, okay, they will do it. But just because it's women that are in these positions. And one of the things we do with the network of immigrant women is something that Vanessa mentioned, is really to bring up the kids' self-esteem. I'm a single mom. I've said it many times, but one of the things that I can tell you is when I meet a man, especially immigrant man or a racialized man, I can tell you at what age they came to Canada. And, you know, I can tell you certain things about them, and especially the age they came to Canada. And at first I thought it was funny because I was right all the time, until I realized the reason why I was right. I was right because these men that came early on and that went through the system, their self-esteem were crushed by the system. So they didn't think they can do much, or the system would tell them, would put them in the box, unfortunately. And that's one of the first thing I told my son's school. I'm like, you don't tell him what to do, you let him figure it out. He has a sense of discernment. So I think we need to act on many levels. And I think the self-esteem for our young men and our young girls is one of is one of the main focus that we should have in the work that we do, to empower them so they know whatever they choose to be, that's okay with me, as long as it's their choice and it's not because they didn't build or they crushed their self-esteem. So, and I love Mindy Lahire, by the way. I love her show. I think she's a great example for the cinema.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bettina. Evelyn?
Yeah, I'm just so impressed with the answers, and I'm inspired. I kind of wanted to close the circle, I guess, in a way. I'm so pleased that Bettina took it where she went with it, because I think if we don't do this, we do it's perilous. You know, it comes back to what we were speaking to earlier around the toxic environment on the platforms that we use, and especially Twitter and many others. You know, it is a reflection of the fact that these technology companies, in part, do not have women at the helm, do not have women watching. When we don't have women involved, we do so at our peril. Our world, the way it needs to function, relies on technology. It relies on children being interested in STEM. It's a basic tool for our survival. And, you know, I'll give you a funny but not so funny example. There's a fascinating statistics that more than, you know, in car crashes, women have a 20% a greater likelihood of not surviving. Why is that? Because they've realized after years that those crash test dummies, technology, are modeled after men. Now, you know, these are, you know, basic things. If we're not there, if we're not behind the technology, if we're not engineering, if we're not designing, if we're not leading these companies, we do so at our peril. And yeah, that's the circle I wanted to place on it, to a great question. Thank you.
It is, I think I am as much as inspired and fired up. I don't know if it's a word that I'm inventing today, but it's definitely very, very refreshing. And as a strong feminist and humanist myself, I couldn't, this couldn't be greater. So we are almost down to our time. And just to wrap up quickly here, we've been discussing today about the importance of taking our place, the importance of being present where the decisions are taken, being present also where in anywhere in STEM, in the technology, being involved, as you mentioned it so many times, Evelyn, changing the narratives. The narrative has to change, and it starts also when we speak up and we use our voice to mention what needs to change. We need to address those changes, and also belonging, the importance of belonging, making room for others, because whenever we feel we don't belong, we just want to be, well, we are outside, so therefore we don't contribute anymore. We feel that we are not wanted, that we are not essential, as we've been talking so much during this time of COVID. So thank you so much for sharing your experience, sharing your point of views as well. I see that we have some men here. Thank you for being here, for listening, and being also a good allies. And Vanessa, you said something that is so important, that oftentimes it is true that when we organize this event, those who need to listen, they are not here always. But I hope that there is, that each one of us here, we are going home with something. We are already home, I mean, that we are taking something away, and we should continue, just keep on going, because change takes time. When we look back 100 years plus, I'm always amazed that the women who fought hard so that we can vote, so that our voice can be heard, they did what they have to do, and today we are able, even if there are still there's still need for a lot of changes, but we have to keep on going, just as IVP Sue mentioned it. So thank you. I will leave the floor to Noshin to close. Again, stay connected. Bettina.
No, it's because someone asked a specific question about how we can I'm not sure, but the answer is like, for me, it's very important. I'm not the first Black woman, and there's two of us at the table, and I'm grateful for that, because that's not the same in Ottawa. That's a bigger city, that's 100 years old and more, and we're only 20 years old, and there's already 3 Black women that's been elected in Gatineau, and I'm very proud of that. However, we did go years without representation. And I know that being Black is not a competency, I guess, but it does give me a different perspective on things. And being a woman does give me a different perspective on things. And it's important to hear it at the table. Trust me, I didn't have, I'm more convinced now after a year than I was before being elected. What I'm gonna tell, I think it's Narcissus that did ask the question. I am working on a program mainly with the Network of Immigrant Women, with AFIO, to demystify the position for other women. Obviously, they don't want me to say that in the application, but I told them our partners will be women organizations. What I want is for them to understand what we're doing and understand the possibility it gives them. I want them to become ambassadors, and maybe, who knows, rather than having only 6 Black people in elections in 2025, maybe we'll have a bit more. So yes, we're taking real action, concrete action to change things and make a difference, and make sure that we don't go any more years without representation around the table.
We couldn't say it louder. Representation matters. Yes, yes, yes. Noshin? Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Yvette, for moderating this exciting panel. Couldn't have been more amazing. And thank you so much, all the panelists. That was such a fired up discussion, our word for today. Okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone. Also, special thanks to our panelists once again. And I would also like to mention some of the special names. That is our JCI Toronto local president, Brian Nogaro, and our JCI Ottawa local president, Harleen Carr. Thank you for your support for making this happen. It's a joint event, a lot of great discussions going forward. So if you're a young citizen, 18 to 40, please join us in Ottawa, join us in Toronto, and I hope we can make this into an event of sessions and not just be refined into this one session and be fired up just for this one discussion. Okay, and if we have no more questions, I would like to request everyone to kindly please turn on your cameras if possible, so you can all take a group photo with our nice pink backgrounds popping. It's okay if you don't have it. Okay, so we can go on the count of 3.
Just a moment, we
Okay.
need to remove one more spotlight. There we go.
Oh, amazing to see everyone's faces. Thank you so much,
Yes.
everybody. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay, one more. Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. And also everyone at JCI Toronto and JCI Ottawa, JCI Canada. Special thanks to Yvette once again for this amazing session you've hosted and taken this entire discussion into a next level. You can reach out through us through our social media pages. I've also shared our email on the chat. And last but not least, I want to thank our JCI National President of Canada, Mehdi. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm sure we have a lot more work to do after this session today. And last but not least, to end the session, I would say let's continue the service to humanity, the best work of life. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Evelyne, Vanessa. C'était un plaisir.
Merci beaucoup, Noshwin. Thank you, Noshwin.